This is Alan Braslow, your host. Today with me is Sarah Rabinowitz Agnoni. I got it right. We were practicing before because my grammar is not always good. I get yelled at a lot at home. And she is with Labrador Hill Sanctuary. For those of you who are saying, oh wow, labs and chocolate dogs and dark dogs, actually, Labrador Hill Sanctuary is a prominent sanctuary for horses, mules, and
donkeys.
donkeys. Sarah, tell us about Labrador Hill, how you got involved with it. I'm sure everyone would love to hear everything.
Okay, well, it's a wonderful long story. In 2000, when my daughter, who is now 20, was about 4 years old, she asked to take some riding lessons. And I had grown up riding Western out west in Arizona and Colorado. So I took her to a local riding stable and was really quite horrified by what I found, and the sort of constriction and the boredom and the really nonsensical routines that horses were forced to go through. And the overall feeling was that these animals were unhappy. Even when they were well cared for physically, they were unhappy, didn't want to be doing what they wanted to do, and were unhappy with people who were coming to see them. So I decided at that point that there had to be a better way for people to be educated about horses, and in particular my daughter. So I went off on my own, and we moved from Moorestown to Waterford, bought a house and property, started our own farm, and it grew and grew over the last 16 years, partly because of my interest in eliminating horse slaughter, and partly because I wanted people to understand how to relate to these animals without being in a traditional riding stable.
You said something that really interested me when you talked about that when you went to a facility where you could go horseback riding, the horses were taken care of, but you said the horses looked bored.
Yes.
Talk more about that, because that...
Okay, this is the essence of great horsemanship that you're addressing, which is that the psychological, the emotional, the intellectual state of the animal in a traditional riding stable is quite literally ignored, as though the animal is a commodity, a piece of equipment, like a piece of sporting equipment. So the premise of a traditional stable is that the horse is waiting there to be tacked up and ridden by a visitor or a student. The premise of a natural horsemanship program is the horse is busy running his own life, and the visitor has to communicate with the horse to convince him to join in a partnership.
Explain how that happens. That sounds interesting.
Well, most horse language is not verbal, it's body language. So the first thing that we teach people when they arrive at the sanctuary is how to read the horse's body language. What is this horse actually saying to you as you walk in the gate? And that's a whole series of sometimes very broad physical gestures and sometimes very, very subtle physical gestures, all of which 100% of the time are significant in the herd. So the horses are constantly communicating with each other. We're trying to teach people to understand that language. That's natural horsemanship.
Now, you were talking earlier, before we sat down, about natural horsemanship programs. If I'm trying to think how I want to ask the question. You go in, horses are typically kept in a stable, or are they typically kept free range?
We keep our horses primarily, and I have to differentiate there a little bit. We have some animals who are very, very high maintenance animals because of age or physical disability or whatever. Those horses are kept separate in their own paddocks so they can be fed separately. but the vast majority of the animals in the herd are out in the open 100% of the time, which is where they are the most comfortable because they're prey animals, and confinement does not increase a prey animal's sense of security. Confinement means that they can't see what's coming from all directions 100% of the time. And for a prey animal, that's essential to survival.
So they're on the other side of the prey. They're the prey animal that could get eaten.
Correct.
Okay, I'm thinking prey animal. So they're
You're the predator. You're the predator.
Gotcha.
You're the predator. As nice as you are, you have eyes in the front of your head and not on the sides of your head. You see straight forward. Horses see to the side, and they see behind them. They have all of the vision that you don't have, actually.
Now,
So,
do your horses, do they stay outside during the evening, or they
they have something called free choice shelter, which means they can seek shelter when they want to, but unless there is a medical reason to keep them confined, they're out 100% of the time.
Have you ever had, since they were, now I understand, a prey animal, have you ever had instances where they've been preyed upon?
Yes, we have, as a matter of fact. It's kind of an interesting story. We had a series of coyote attacks last August, and this was a very interesting set of circumstances, again, kind of falling into our holistic view of how to maintain herds. We got all kinds of very bad advice, some of which came from the state fish and wildlife people, who said shoot them if they come onto the property. And we ended up, after really researching what was the best way to manage this issue, bringing in 2 large mules who are absolutely magnificent herd guardians. And the coyotes have not appeared since this was last October, by the way. We haven't seen anything of the coyotes. I love it because nobody died, nobody got killed, and no coyote is going to argue with Daisy Mae the mule. So I don't know if you know anything about mules.
I was going to ask you. So
they are wonderful herd guardians. They actually have been known to kill mountain lions.
Really?
Yes. They don't like predators on the property. So the other funny part of this story is we have donkeys who are very often used as herd guardians, but in our herd we have a fairly large donkey herd, and they took care of themselves, but they had very little interest in protecting the horses. So the mules, who are half horse, have been protecting the horses. So it's very well.
We're going to take a quick break.
Yes.
We are going to go to a commercial break and then come back and continue this conversation with Sarah. She's given me a lot of interesting questions to come up with. This is Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, this is what we do. It's what we've been doing. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do. So what are you doing? Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
Today's show was brought to you by Alicia Kelly of White Horse RV Center in Williamstown, New Jersey. Alicia is your RV expert. Contact Alicia at alicia@whitehorserv.com or give her a call at 856-262-1717, extension 203. When you think of RV, think Alicia Kelly.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to give a sub some sizzle, this is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Extra Innings is the nation's premier indoor baseball and softball training center, featuring indoor batting cages, 7 multi-use tunnels, and training rooms. Extra Innings can provide professional instruction, private and group lessons, and the best year-round clinics. Along with a nationally recognized pro shop that features the latest and widest selection of equipment and apparel, our experienced staff can provide you with the right instruction and help you find the best equipment for your ability and budget. Extra Innings, where the game never ends.
Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
Today's show has been sponsored by Farmers Insurance in Voorhees, New Jersey. To protect your assets and the people you love, call Mike Skoranek, your local Farmers Insurance agent, at 856-336-2553.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. Sarah and I were chatting during the commercial. Tell everyone a little bit more about the mules and the donkeys and the almost like a hierarchy of who's in charge, who's the doorman. It sounds like who's getting into the club and who's not.
Well, mules, remember, are half horse and half donkey. So a mule has a donkey as a father and a horse or a pony as a mother, and they themselves are sterile.
And it's always in that direction.
Yes, if it's the opposite direction, the offspring is called a hinny, Hinny. That's a little rarer.
Right.
It's usually a donkey as a father and a horse as a mother. So donkeys, mules, and horses are 62, 63, 64 chromosomes respectively. And so they're very close on the genetic scale, but different. Donkeys are known to be stubborn. They are not stubborn at all. They are more direct line thinkers than horses, and they are exceptionally cautious. So you have to present evidence to a donkey that something is safe before the donkey will agree to participate, which is actually not true of horses. Horses can be coerced to do things that are not in their best interest. You cannot coerce a donkey. So a mule has that combination of both. Having said that, in terms of hierarchy, donkeys have a very democratic kind of society. They aren't as hierarchy oriented as horses and mules are. Horses have an extremely strong hierarchy, and that's based on the lead horse, as in the wild, being able to signal an entire herd to move if danger is approaching. So in terms of the horsemanship program, the person has to take on the role of that lead horse when working with his or her equine companion in order for that horse to trust them. So it's not about dominance, it's about really good judgment and being able to teach your horse the things the horse needs to know to stay safe in that relationship.
How do you do that, and how would someone communicate that they've met this horse for the first time, and they want to accomplish this goal? How do they proceed? How long does it take? Are there any guidelines to it?
The main guideline, and I would say uppermost in every person's mind when meeting a horse for the first time, is that the person is a predator, and the horse's first priority is survival. So your first approach to a horse has to be, I am your friend.
But how do they know the difference if they think you're a predator and they see you coming at them? I mean, how would I convince the horse?
Number one, don't come at them. If you're entering a paddock, even if a horse puts his head over the fence line, instead of going directly to his head, you would bring your arm around to the side of his neck and scratch his neck, because his head could feel very threatened if you came right at him. So that's your choice of words there is actually quite descriptive. So instead of coming right at him, you kind of come up to the side, which is less threatening and doesn't produce a kind of fight or flight reaction in a sensitive horse. So that's
makes sense. No
one
different
thing.
than dogs, or when you're trying
Exactly.
to come to a dog
Very
for the
similar.
first time. You never. Now, I would assume you never look the horse in the eye.
Well, you can't actually do that
'Cause they're on the
straight on.
sides.
They're on the sides, and they see to the side. So again, coming right up to a horse's forehead when you don't know the horse could be very threatening to him. He really can't see anything right there. So if you bring your hand around to the side, he can see it, he can feel it coming, and he can kind of prepare himself emotionally for the contact. So a lot of what creates the relationship is just understanding how they see and how they think and approaching them in a way that is non-threatening.
Interesting. So and I was thinking they cannot see. They can't see straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
When we see horses on a racetrack and they're running,
It's totally unnatural.
really.
Completely
I was going to say
unnatural.
because they're running and they can't see where they're going.
That's pretty much correct. They are running because they are forced to run. This is not to say that thoroughbreds who have been bred for generations are not physically designed to be fast and to run. Yes, they are. But in nature, horses run and they gallop and they cavort for very short periods of time when they're enjoying themselves. And they will do it. You'll see them do it. They're enjoying themselves, they're running, they're having a great time, and then they stop. So what happens on a racetrack is there is an intense fear. Got to keep up with the herd. Got to keep up with the herd. I'm being urged to keep up with the herd. I'm being forced to keep up with the herd, and I'm going straight ahead. I'm literally, if there was a cliff in front of me, I and my jockey would go right over the cliff.
So they're not thinking about
No.
beating the herd. They want to
No.
stay with the herd.
They're staying with the herd.
So there's no motivation, natural motivation for them to win a race.
That's the jockey's
the
job.
jockey's whip.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Medical challenges,
Mhm.
because I know with every animal there has to be. And you have how many of each do you have at the sanctuary?
Oh boy, I would have to think about answering that question. There are over 50 animals. The main medical challenge we have right now is the age of the herd. So we have a lot of seniors in the herd.
But we're going to take a quick break, and then we will come back and dive deeper into that. Also, I want you to be able to take some time to share with folks how to get a hold of you. And you're a nonprofit.
Yep.
So obviously you need funding, just like every nonprofit that we're out there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. This is Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. And we'll be back with Sarah, and we'll get back into those medical challenges and tell you how to connect with her and what type of fundraising efforts you can help with.
Today's show is sponsored by Hargrove Demolition, your demolition experts. Hargrove is a family-owned and operated business right here in the southern New Jersey area, bringing you 45 years of demolition expertise. Hargrove has all your demolition needs, from emergency demolition service to demolition equipment rental. Hargrove is one of the state-approved recycling facilities right here in the southern New Jersey area. No job is too big or too small for Hargrove Demolition. Contact them today at one of their 3 locations.
When I was injured, I couldn't play basketball for my entire sophomore year.
After years of wear and tear, I knew something was seriously wrong with Deja's knee when the swelling wouldn't go down.
Young athletes are still growing. They need specialized care only available here at Dayton Children's.
I wanted the best care for Deja because I wanted her to return to the things that she loves to do, and that's basketball.
At Dayton Children's Sports Medicine, we're treating tomorrow's champions.
Right care.
Right now.
Right here.
Dayton Children's.
Just right for kids.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, this is what we do. It's what we've been doing. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do. So what are you doing? Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Today's show has been sponsored by Farmers Insurance in Voorhees, New Jersey. To protect your assets and the people you love, call Mike Skoranek, your local Farmers Insurance agent, at 856-336-2553.
We are farmers. Bum, ba, dum, bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. Sarah, let's continue where we left off. Medical challenge. How many donkeys, mules, horses? Did I miss something?
It's over 50 animals
Burros?
in
Was
total.
that the one I missed?
Burros are the same as donkeys.
Oh, okay.
So the donkeys in our herd are by and large fairly young. I don't have any donkeys who are over the age of maybe 15.
Do people sponsor them? Is that
Yes,
what happens?
you can actually sponsor every animal in the herd by going onto our website at www.labradorhill.com and joining the on-site adoption program. So there's a monthly fee. You can make it a recurring donation, and you can choose any animal in the herd.
Right.
And any animal can have any number of sponsors. We call it an on-site adoption program because at the moment we are not adopting animals out, and that is because of the existence of horse slaughter. So until we eliminate the transport of horses to slaughter in this country, it's 160,000 animals every year who we're shipping to Canada and Mexico to be killed. Our role in the industry is permanent sanctuaries. So what we're encouraging people to do is to sponsor the animals to stay in the herd. That money goes to the $70,000 cost of maintaining them every year.
Per animal, or?
No. That's the total. That
Oh.
is the total cost per year of hay and feed. That doesn't include farrier and veterinary care, by the way. Just the hay and feed. And if you join the adoption program, you can come unlimited number of times to visit your adopted animal and see the herd and possibly volunteer. We have many volunteers who find it very therapeutic to be out in the herd and cleaning up and doing water tanks and
The
et cetera.
people that come out and they're with the herd,
Mhm.
do they do any riding of horses as well, or is that
The riding, any riding
totally
is
different?
done within the context of the natural horsemanship program, which you
Okay.
can also register for by going onto the website. So the prerequisite to ride is learning natural horsemanship through the instructional program. Nobody gets on without creating a relationship first.
And are they using saddles, or are they using just blankets, or are
We use primarily Western saddles, but we also use English saddles. The type of saddle, or whether you're riding bareback or using a soft saddle, doesn't really matter as much as...
the horse doesn't care?
The horse really doesn't care. All the horse cares about is how much you care about him.
What
or
about
her.
bits and things like that?
No bits at all. We only use rope halters. They're made out of nylon, and they just go over the nose and over the head, and there's nothing in the horse's mouth at all.
So that horse better trust you.
The horse absolutely must trust you. Yes,
If they don't,
exactly.
you're in big trouble.
Well, and you will know that long before you ever put your leg over the horse's back. That's the other element of natural horsemanship, is just plain old safety. You know when it's not safe, and if it's not safe, you're not getting on.
How long does it usually take for an individual to establish a relationship with a horse?
Depends on the horse and depends on the person.
On the person.
Yes, very variable.
Do you have dogs there as well? And if so, do the dogs get along with the horses?
We have actually 5 dogs who visit the sanctuary regularly. We live around the corner from the sanctuary itself. But the herd as a whole, even the mules, by the way, are very accustomed to dogs in the neighborhood because they're all over the place, and they're fine with dogs, totally fine with dogs. However, having said that, dogs are predators, and I would not recommend that you bring a dog who has not met the herd into the sanctuary. That probably isn't going to be safe.
We talked a little bit about medical challenges, medical bills. My experience has been large animal veterinarians are a little bit more expensive, to say the least, than small animal.
It depends on what you're doing. We maintain a fairly low-tech veterinary approach. We have an absolutely wonderful vet named Robert Bendy from Tabernacle, who's been in the business for 40 years. He's on the board of the sanctuary, actually. Or he's the advising vet to the sanctuary. And we do our own vaccines. So we buy them from him at cost, and we actually administer them. We call him when there's an emergency. He has a really humane approach to managing a herd of this size, which is that if an animal is at the end of his or her life cycle, we don't prolong it unnecessarily. And by the same token, we don't do very, very expensive trips to equine hospitals if we can avoid it. Feeling that by and large, most of these animals with really basic good care can live very comfortable lives for 25 to 30 years, and that's our goal. So he doesn't actually come out a lot. He comes out when I call him and there's an emergency. But so in other words, in terms of cost,
right,
that's not the major cost.
Interesting. Any medical challenges that you have personally been involved with a horse or two that it was the ones you won't forget?
Well, the main medical challenge, which I will never forget, was the first horse we had, who was a 28-inch mini, who's still here, by the way. His name is Dice, and he had an impaction. That is to say, he had a blockage in one of his intestines that required...
He's not the horse I saw in the Amazon commercial where they've got the door.
Kind of like that horse. He doesn't look like
but
him.
It wasn't him.
No, it wasn't him. It wasn't him. But we got Dice in 2000, and he, within a very short time, was in an equine hospital with a $4,000 surgery. So I will never go that route again. It's definitely not worth the cost. But we got Dice through, and he's still around.
Awesome.
So that's the most memorable
awesome.
one.
Well, we have a couple minutes left,
Yes.
so tell everyone how they can contact you, the website, what type of things you're looking for in donations for the sanctuary.
The main issue is always hay and feed. People can donate directly to the sanctuary at www.labradorhill.com, just into the general hay and feed fund.
And Labrador Hill is spelled how?
LabradorHill.com. So they can join the on-site adoption program. They can join the lesson program, which, by the way, the fees from the lesson program go directly into the sanctuary. I am not taking a salary. So even though I'm instructing, all of that money goes back to the horses. Goes in one end and out the other.
Yeah, the hay goes in, the hay goes out. Right?
Yes, that's exactly right. So at the moment, we have a couple of projects, special projects, that would be worth donating to. We'd like to build a new quarantine shed, which is going to be about $2,000. We'd like to buy some new water tanks, larger water tanks, which may be about $600 or $700. But on the whole, any donation, large or small, directly into the website will go to the right place.
If they want to contact you, use the website.
The website is great for that. We have an absolutely wonderful nonprofit software that brings inquiries directly to my email through the website, but you can also email me directly at Mognoni, MOGNONI @yahoo.com.
Sounds good. Anything else you can think of that you want to share with the folks other than invite them to get involved and learn what true horsemanship is?
I think that's the central issue. I'd like as many people as possible to come and visit and find out about the horsemanship program. It's life-changing, and will make people aware of a universe which belongs to animals, which is parallel to ours, and I'd like people to get involved in that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sarah, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Folks, it sounds like this could be an incredible day, a nice place to take the kids and educate them. As you mentioned, you started when your daughter was 4.
Mm-hmm.
How old's your daughter now?
20.
20. So, she's been educated the right way.
She has.
She understands that animals, they have their feelings and they need to be taken care of and not abused.
Exactly.
You did amazing when you talked about the number of horses that get put down, and I can understand why you do not let them out of your care.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very commendable. Folks, this is Pet Patrol. This is Alan Braslow, your host, protector of the pack, and Sarah Rabinowitz-Magnoni from Labrador Hill Sanctuary. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you again soon.